Steve Miller is like the Steve Miller Band.
Okay.
But in Dallas, Texas, I'm CEO of Dillion, Gage, which is a brokerage firm, and helps international.
So Steve, welcome. It's great to have you here with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your work in Guatemala?
Well, I visited Guatemala some 30 years ago and was very interested in what I saw just from the humanitarian side and got involved. There was no big plan on my part, and over the years, friends and colleagues and interested parties have joined with us, and we've developed a program for poverty reduction in Latin America, and that's what we're doing.
What's the name of the poverty program?
It's called Helps International.
Okay.
It works in economics, it works in healthcare, it works in education, and it works in changing the way people live in their homes.
So what is all this stuff about stoves? Why do stoves matter?
You know, it's a funny thing, a stove. It's a little thing, seemingly. But the majority of women in the world live in homes that have open cooking fires. That's the way they live. And it requires a great deal of fuel. And the long and short of it is it keeps women in a cycle of poverty. They never get out of it. And they won't for generations. So what we do is we develop the ONIL stove, technically one of the best in the world, that we install where it takes the fire off the floor, children aren't burned anymore, smoke out of the house so that they have good air to breathe, which is a big deal. I won't go into that. But the economics of it, since we're talking about business, is that it saves a family 70% of the cost of the firewood. You say, oh, that's a small deal, but not really. Because we're finding that families spend up to 40% of their entire income just to buy firewood to cook their food. Now, isn't that absurd?
Yeah.
I mean, if we gripe if gasoline goes up another 10 cents or 20 cents a gallon. But we're talking about 40% of your entire income just to cook your food. So the stove that we have saves 70% of that. So if you're spending 30 for fuel, you're saving 20. So I'm putting $240 into a pocket of a person that maybe makes $2 a day. So you tell me, is that revolutionary?
That's pretty good. Now, so how did you stumble on the idea of creating these stoves? What's the story?
Came out from the medical teams because we were having a lot of burns to children. We were having to fix in plastic surgery. Hands that were burned, faces. Women that had flash fires where they had gotten too close to the fire and their hair had caught on fire. And so you have second and third degree burns on their face that quickly. And we saw the pulmonary health of women and children, which were like people that smoke 4 packs a day. And we said, what's the reason? Engineer Don O'Neill, who was leading the medical team at the time, came up and found out that it was the open cooking fires. And he went home to Texas and figured out how to fix it. And tell you, it took him a year to build it, a year to test it, and now we've been implementing for over 10 years.
So you've gotten a little bit of, one other question. You charge for the stoves. You don't give them away for free. This isn't charity.
You can't do it. We have some subsidy. It depends on the people and their understanding of their needs. Sometimes they don't understand they need it. Anyway, they pay, and it's very important that people pay for things. If you don't have skin in the game, you won't accept the solution. You won't use it. So yes, we do make them pay. If you're super poor, you don't have any cash at all, which some do, you have to pay and work. You have to work on things. You have to do things over here so that you can afford to buy the stove. And when that happens, then you implement it better as a person. We have some 88% use of the stove, which is an extremely high usage for a solution in the third world in these families. I like to see 94, 95%. That's what we're working for.
But if it's so important, given the burns and all of the fumes and all the things that you talked about, why not just give it away?
Because they won't use it. They won't appreciate it. We're human beings. We appreciate what we buy. And if somebody just gave you a car and you didn't have to worry about where it came from or the next one, you might trash it. You might not drive it as well. You might not check the oil. And it's the truth in anybody. And so when you pay for something, you have an appreciation for it. You figure out how it works better. You have put your life into it because you give your money for it. and they use it, and that's the difference. And we've seen, how many programs have we seen in the UN, in the US government, in a lot of different institutions and business where we have done that. We've subsidized things. And the question is, we have a higher poverty rate than we had before. So something we did wrong.
So this is a philosophy.
This is a philosophy, and it's not just me, it's not just helps. This is, I think, being adopted pretty much around. We still have government agencies that demand that you subsidize everything, and different groups that demand that that's definitely the case. But in reality, many people are coming to this understanding.
So the government of Guatemala is giving you an award. Can you tell us that story?
Well, they're not giving me, they're giving helps.
Okay.
And it's called the Orden del Quetzal. It's their highest order, award that they give. And we're very honored that they are choosing to select us and give it to us. We've had many volunteers that deserve this, and I just think of these people as heroes. So I'll be very honored to accept it on their behalf.
Thank you very much.